Hi, in this lesson we're going to measure length. So our first objective is to use the metric system to measure units of length. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some conversions using the metric system. And then our second objective is to use the standard system. So let's start with the metric system. Alright, the metric system is a system of measurement in which the basic units are the meter. In this system, the ratios between the units of measurement are multiples of 10. Alright, what makes the metric system really nice is it's just like the decimal system. All you're doing is you're going up or down by 10, and that's it. So it makes things a lot easier to remember. And another nice thing about the metric system is you always use the same prefixes. Milli, centi, deci, and then your unit, which is in this case meter, deca, hecto, and kilo. So one way to remember those is by saying King Henry died unexpectedly drinking chocolate milk. K for kilo, H for hecto, D for deca, U for the unit measure, which is meter, D for deci, C for centi, and M for milli. Okay? So what we have right here is we're saying that 1 millimeter, which is about the thickness of a paper clip, there's 0.001 meters in that millimeter. In other words, there are 1,000 millimeters equals 1 meter. Okay, centi, that means that there are 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. Deci, there are 10 decimeters, which equals 1 meter. And then we have 1 meter, and then we're saying that 10 meters equals 1 decameter, and we write it like that. 100 meters equals 1 hectometer, and 1,000 meters equals 1 kilometer. And that's the conversions. Alright, so let's do some problems with these. I wrote down the conversions right over here. It says, how many centimeters are in 1 meter? It's 17 meters. So basically, if I draw a meter, I know that in 1 meter there's 100 centimeters. Hey, I got 17 of these. So in other words, I'm just going to take 100 times 17. So 100 times 17 equals 1,700 centimeters. There's another way we can do it, and it involves using fractions. You start out with what we have. I have 17 meters, so I'm going to write it just like this. And I'm going to write it as a fraction, so I'm going to put it over 1. Okay, I like to put parentheses around it. We don't have to, but we can. We're going to take it times what we want. We want centimeters, so I look over here and I say, oh, I know that I got 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. So I'm going to write that as a ratio, but I have to put the meters on the bottom, and I'll just explain why. So my ratio is 100 centimeters for every 1 meter. And the reason the meters have to go on the bottom is because fractions can cross cancel. I could cross cancel the meters, and now all I'm left with are just the centimeters. So I take the top times the top. 17 times 100 is 1,700. I got my unit of measure is centimeters. 1 times 1 is just 1, so we don't need that 1 down there. Okay, so it doesn't matter which way you do it. Another way we could do it is just by moving the decimal left or right by the number of zeros, and I will show you that in class. Alright, so the next question is, how many meters are in 5.8 kilometers? So I'm going to just use my fraction method. So I'm going to start out with my 5.8 kilometers. I'm going to put it over 1 because I can. Alright, now I need a conversion from meters and kilometers, which I know that there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So I'm going to write my ratio of 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. I have to have the kilometers on the bottom because remember I can cross cancel. Top times the top. So we got 5.8 times 1,000 is 5,800 meters. And 1 on the bottom. The other way you could simply do it is I got 5.8. Okay, I've got 3 zeros. All I have to do is move it over 3 spots because I'm taking it times 1,000. Okay, you just got to know which way you're going. Alright, example 3. How many meters and centimeters is in 545 centimeters? Okay, we're not really doing any conversions. We're starting out with 545 centimeters. Okay. Now we know that this can be broken apart into 500 plus 45. And I'm going to put my centimeters right here. Keep your labels. Now, the reason I broke it apart into 500 is because I know that there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So if I have 500 centimeters, that means I have 5 meters. And so I have 5 meters, 45 centimeters. Okay, this is a lot like breaking apart numbers that we learned in Math 210. Okay, all right, we got 2 more examples using the metric system. This time we're going to add and subtract. So I have 8 meters, 14 centimeters. Don't forget to write your labels. And I'm going to add 2 meters, 93 centimeters. Okay, you got to add the same units. So we'll first add the centimeters, and 14 plus 93 is 107. And then we've got 10 meters here. Now, the 107, since 100 centimeters equals 1 meter, I'm going to rewrite that as 100 centimeters plus 7 centimeters. But we know that 100 centimeters is 1 meter. So I have 10 meters plus 1 meter plus 7 centimeters, which is equal to 11 meters, 7 centimeters. Example 5, I have 4 meters, 2 centimeters, and this time I'm going to subtract 2 meters, 35 centimeters. I can't take 35 from 2, so I'm going to borrow. So this becomes 3 meters. But what am I going to borrow? I'm going to borrow 100 centimeters. So 100 plus 2 is 102 centimeters. Now I can subtract, and I'm left with 67 centimeters, which is less than 100, so I'm good, and 1 meter. If it was more than 100, then I had another meter in there. Okay, so that's how we add and subtract using the metric system. Now, we're going to move on over to the standard system. Now, the standard system, actually, it works the exact same way as the metric system, but I think it's a little bit harder to remember because we're not dealing with base 10, we're dealing with sometimes 3, 12, 4. So we know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot, 3 feet in 1 yard, and 5,280 feet in a mile. Okay, we're going to keep that in mind. So we're going to do the same thing. First of all, we're going to change yards and feet to feet. So I want to first change my 54 yards to feet. Well, I want to do my fractional way, and then I'll show you the other way. We have 54 yards. Okay, I can put it over 1 because I can just make it a fraction. And I know that there's 3 feet to a yard. I would put the 3 feet on the top, the 1 foot, or the 1 yard on the bottom, because I want the yards to cancel. So I take 54 times 3, because I take the top times the top. So we've got 162 feet. Okay, that takes care of the yards. But remember, I still have 2. So 162 plus 2 more feet will equal 164 feet. The other way you could think about it is, well, I could just take 54 times 3 right away and then add my 2. Alright, let's look at the next example. I have 2 miles, 5 yards, and I want to know how many yards that is. Okay, so first of all, I've got my 2 miles. So I want to change that to yards. So once again, I'm going to take 2 miles, I'll put it over 1. Now I can't go straight from miles to yards. I could, but I would have to do some figuring. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what I already have. 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So 5,280 feet, I'm going to write my ratio, is equal to 1 mile. Now the miles cancel, so I'm left with feet, but I want my answer in terms of yards. Okay, so now I want to change feet to yards. So I know that there's 3 feet in 1 yard. So I'll write my ratio. The reason I put the feet on the bottom is because I want them to cancel. So now I'm left with yards. So 2 times 5,280. So that would be 10,560. Now I'm going to take the bottom times the bottom and I get 3 down here. So I'm going to divide that out. And I get 3,520. So I have 3,520 yards. Okay, that takes care of the 2 miles. I still have 5 yards more. So I take 3,520 plus 5 equals 3,525 yards. Keep in mind, this is not the only way to solve this problem. It's just one approach. Alright. Now, example 3, I want to take 23 inches is how many feet in inches? So I have 23 inches. Okay, I know I can break that apart into 12 inches plus 11 inches. So I know that 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. And then I've got my 11 inches yet, which is less than a foot, so I'm good. And one more example, or 2 more examples. Now we're going to add and subtract. So we have 7 feet, 9 inches. And now I'm going to subtract 5 feet, 11 inches. Can't take 11 from 9, so I'm going to borrow. So this becomes 6 feet. Now I'm going to borrow inches, so I'm going to borrow 12 of them. So this becomes 21 inches. 9 plus 12. So now I subtract and I get 10 inches. And I subtract here, I get 1 foot. Example 5, same idea. Now we're going to add 9 feet 8 inches plus 13 feet 7 inches. So here we have 15 inches and here we have 22 feet. But I can break that 15 up into 12 inches and 3 inches. Because 12 inches equals 1 foot. And then I got my 3 inches. And now I have my 22 feet. So now this becomes 23 feet plus 3 inches. We don't need the plus sign in there, so I'll just erase that. And so there is your answer. Okay, so that's how you use the metric and standard unit to measure. Thank you.